And the Crime Stoppers building, this day, the National Day of Remembrance of victims of murder. So all is set for this event.
Again, if you need additional chairs, we have people that will bring out chairs. Right here. Victim Services, Crime Stoppers of Houston. I would say I'm glad to see everybody here, but no offense, I wish none of you were here. I wish nobody was here for the National Day of Remembrance. On behalf of parents of murdered children, there was some. Crime victims are the only unwilling participants in the criminal justice system. Everyone else chose their role. I'm going to introduce you and meet some of them in a minute. Everyone else chose their role, from law enforcement, prosecutors, judges, victim advocates, but no one ever said, pick me, I want to be a victim of crime. An advocate, a few other choice words that I'm given. Thank you.
Well learned.
Yes, they're extremely well learned. I get some colorful nicknames every now and then on it. We're the largest Crime Stoppers organization in the country. We're the only ones with a standing building. And we're proud of what we do at Crime Stoppers by involving surviving family members of homicide and any other victim of a crime. And we work very closely with our partners in law enforcement, the district attorney's office, and any other government, going on almost 30 some odd years. We try to take negatives and turn them into positives. I cannot go back and change what happened to you or your family. But we try to make things better for others to come along, and you've achieved a lasting legacy. And that's what we're about. We're part of an organization, the only organization in the country in which someone else writes out your membership for you. No one asked to be here. But I'm proud to know many of you in this room. And I'm proud to know many of you have taken the worst possible thing that could ever happen to turn that negativity into positive movement for change. Anyone can yell and scream about the injustices of the world. I would much prefer to find a solution and or a remedy. And in order to do that, I need everybody's help. We all need to work together. Obviously, we're painfully aware of what's happening right now in Houston and Harris County with the increasing homicide rates. Everyone is aware of going on. And we have to start coming together as a community. And that's what I'm asking everybody here to do tonight. Normally, when we've done the National Day of Remembrances in the past, obviously last year we couldn't do it due to the pandemic, we normally have read off the names of everyone who was taken from us in Harris County for that year. We can't do that this year. And the reason why is there's too many. We physically timed it would take over an hour to read off the names in just 1 year. So that's why we're scrolling names and ages, simply add names. And again, I need your help getting your pictures. We're really proud to work with an incredible group of dedicated elected and public officials. And I'm even really proud of kind of the unsung heroes amongst them. Law enforcement, prosecutors, and everyone in the back over here. If you're looking at everyone standing here, coming out of the line, they are dedicated professionals working in victim services. They are people from the district attorney's victims witness office here, the attorney general's office, and a myriad of other different departments that are here. A friend of mine, who's now your elected district attorney, Kim Locke, to come up, and Kim and I go way back, and you're almost up to my age. You've got, no, I know this, you have 4 more days, right? You have 4 more days left until you hit that pinnacle. I won't even say what the pinnacle is, but let's give her just an early happy birthday.
Well, good evening, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Kim Ogg. I'm the Harris County District Attorney. And I've been at many of these functions over the last 34 years since I entered the criminal justice system. Sometimes elected officials have come, sometimes they haven't. Law enforcement's always been present. But the victims assistance coordinators, the service providers, the volunteers, Calandrian, you all have multiplied through the years, and yet couldn't we use more? So before I start, I want to thank the women and men who work at the DA's office under Celeste Byram, the Victim Services Chief, and she has several of our Victims Assistance Coordinators here with you today. So would you all just raise your hand so they know who you are? Inevitably, where I go, people will say, I have a case, and I'll say I need a number or a name. Your loved one is more than a number and more than a name. But this is how we start looking to see what's the status, what can be done. Is it stuck at the police department? Do we need to find someone and call Texas Akwo Search? So remember who the employees of the DA's office are so that you can ask them about your case, but know that they need a number. Now, that's the practical side of what we can do for you. What we cannot do is bring your loved one back. I'm here in 1962 by a serial rapist. He told her he was going to rape her and murder her. He shoved her in her own car. He sped off down Main Street. So she lived, no thanks to him. He raped 2 other women, was caught that night. And there were no victim services coordinators for my mom, Connie. There were no support victims advocate group. There was no crime with the tragedy that surrounds and the trauma that surrounds. Same thing we say at the DA's office, we want to make our community safer. And so we can talk to you about a lot of the problems. Murders and capital murders, where no justice has been attained. A case has been filed, but it's pending. And there are 640 people who committed crimes, those murders are capital murders, who are fugitives from the law. Just the other, for murder, but was a fugitive, killed a police officer. We know that fugitives pose some of the greatest threats to law enforcement to avoid responsibility. And that's exactly why accountability is so important to reducing crime. We have to have accountability in our system to feel a semblance of justice, and our community from the person who took your loved one. Fair about it, and we want there to be accountability in society so that we can reduce or stop violent crime. When there is no accountability, crime increases. Then we reinforce the bad behavior. And right now, with individuals being released who are violent people, who are released over and over on bail for new crimes committed while on bail for serious crimes, we've seen an increase in crime. We've seen an increase in homicides. Why, we say? Well, part of it are these repeat violent offenders. And it continues. Why people who love one another kill one another worse. And finally, gang crime. People get hurt. So, repeat violent offenders, gang crime, domestic violence, each of these things are preventable. We together, instead of focus on grief, I want us to focus on hope. That you can make a difference. Honestly. Each one of us can make a difference. We have to treat each other better. We have to trust each other. Together, we really can reduce homicide, we can reduce crime. So stop the release of repeat violent offenders on bail and make your voice heard. I've been making the rounds to the business community with Rania and with Andy and with others, with Chief Benner, not to place blame, but to let folks know these are decisions that are being made by people who, and just like I'm accountable for what we, and if you oppose it, say so. You can also not just help by being with others, the ministry of presence, but I think that you can do it. I've seen so many of you do it. The volunteers who served right out here are many of the people I see at Parents of Murdered Children and have seen for the last 30 years. So you can be part of a group and you can be a leader of that group and provide a ministry of presence and a sense of comfort that I don't see parents of murdered children or other victims get. And support their efforts and our efforts to make our community safer through just common sense practices and policy. And the streets are dangerous, maybe more dangerous than ever. So if you do know something or see something, support Crime Stoppers. That's why it's such a great organization. It's anonymous, it pays cash. Get the word out in the neighborhood. Support Crime Stoppers. On National Remembrance Day, I just want you to know your loved ones are remembered. They are important. I feel certain that they are watching and with you. I want you to know that we pray.
This time I'd like to Rania and Carius is back there. And just a personal back here. Stanton was the last known victim in what was called the Houston mass murders. Wayne Henley, Dean Coral, and David Owen Brooks. One of the largest serial killings in this country's history before others took place. We noticed one thing in their case, that the defendants were coming up for parole over 20 times. Every 2 to 3 years. Now let's be real. You're really, unless you really want to have a career death, you're not going to vote to approve the parole of a serial killer. Giving now a 10-year set-off instead of a 3-year set-off for defendants now charged with capital murder. And coincidentally or not, Elmer Wayne Henley was the first one to be the recipient of a 10-year set-off. Give probation for first-degree murder. 12 years we kept coming, 7 sessions. We started in 1999, and in 2011, we finally got it passed. It was murdered by an estranged boyfriend. When they tried to report the fact that she was abducted, was over the age of 18. Allison Steele changed law. We became, meaning any adult who goes missing as a result of criminal conduct can now have an alert put out, and that's because of the dedication by Allison Steele. My good friend Tim Miller years ago as well. So yes, I order Crime Stoppers, and I'd like to introduce Houston Police Chief Troy Finner.
Real quick, I'm like Andy, but I want to in the world. So thank you for the support. But as I gauge this room, if you look at a person's eyes, it's gonna tell you what's in their heart. And I've been intentionally looking at eyes, and you know what I see? Pain. Because no pain is greater than losing a loved one. And I will never come in a room and try to tell the person, well, I know how you feel, because every individual's pain is different. But what I want to pledge, and I'm honored to be here, I'm not happy to be here with y'all because sad occasions brought us together. But make sure that all of us, and I stand with you, and that's a promise for me, that we stand together and we take our pain, just as a lot of you have done, and do something good about it. Our DA talked about some accountability. I'm not a political person. I don't like pointing fingers. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm angry. This is our city, our county. We can do better.
Yes.
You guys deserve better. I don't understand what you're going through, but I tell you what, my family, twice, sat in those seats on that front row. But I'm just here to tell y'all I love you, here with you as the Houston Police Department. And I know we have arrested and convicted a lot of individuals that committed murder. But there's some that keep hanging together as a community. But I'm going to sit down. I'm just honored to be here. I ask that you pray for the HPD family tomorrow as we lay to rest Senior Officer Jeffrey, who was a great man. And just pray for his family. I can't stay for the whole event tonight because.
Just stand up so we can get an idea. Thank you. Crime Stoppers, of law enforcement, of trying to bring changes.
Y'all are providing much encouragement to a community that needs encouragement. Scripture says in Matthew, blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. This is what comforting looks like. This is what remembering looks like. We're not going to forget. We know your story, and believe me, they're powerful. They tell something that nothing else. Goes out on Friday night to get carry out for his family, because they're going to stay home and have a family night. So Mr. Kirk goes out on Westheimer. He's surrounded by thugs on motorcycles. They shoot him. He bleeds out and dies talking to his wife. He has a 12-year-old daughter who's best friends with my 12-year-old granddaughter. What's happened to y'all has impacted the entire city. And just like Chief Finner says, we're tired of it. We don't have to live this way. We're not going to live this way. And every community every part of Houston that I've been in, this isn't a partisan issue. This is an issue about protecting our homes, protecting our family, protecting our friends. And we know what to do.